Hey, I'm Will, and I love Star Trek.
I'm Caleb, and I love Fallout.
And we're watching Star Trek chronologically so that this guy over here can love Star Trek just like me.
Yeah, maybe.
So let's get into the review, dudes.
Risk. Risk is our business.
Out there. That way.
My God. What happened? Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits.
Rock and roll! 6.
We're not afraid of diversity. We don't persecute it, we embrace it.
At least I won't die alone.
Join our Federation of Planets. And reach for the stars.
Those were the days.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Trek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek. And this week, we're talking about Season 2 of Star Trek, the animated series. Specifically this week, we're talking about Episode 2 of Season 2, entitled BEM. The episode originally aired September 14th, 1974. It was written by David Gerrold, who wrote the 2 Tribble episodes from the original series and the earlier animated series episode. And it was directed by Bill Reed. And Bill Reed is just an animator and another producer at Filmation. The synopsis for BEM is Ari Ben Bem, an erratic observer from the planet Pandro, secretly watches the crew of the USS Enterprise to determine whether the Federation is ready to open diplomatic relations with his advanced species. But before we carry on and talk about comments and subscribers, let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thinks of the episode.
Yeah, it's fine. I was not a super fan of this episode. I don't know if I wasn't in the mood, but I don't know. It's fine. There's parts of it that I like, obviously, but
Sure, yeah.
don't really care about it one way or the other.
Yeah. I totally
Not
understand.
a fan of BIM whatsoever. So
Well, it's tough because
BIM is a main returning character.
totally. Yeah. The reality is why I picked it was it's one of the few. There are a couple other episodes, but it's one of the few Star Trek episodes that basically turns an episode of Star Trek on its head, where it's like what they normally do in an episode is basically mocked and basically like, is what you do as a people really appropriate? Like, are you call yourself the good guys, but really are you the good guys, kind of thing?
Right.
It's kind of a convoluted dance to get to that, but it's an interesting plot that they try to bring about. But there's reasons for why it's so kind of jumbled. So we'll get there when we hit trivia.
Well, I look forward to trivia.
Okay, before we introduce our guest and start the review, let's do subscribers and comments. So, one of our latest subscribers that I could see is Sean Johnston. So, thanks for subscribing. And one of our comments we had on our Enterprise incident short, where we talk about, you talk about, Caleb, the Romulan cloaking device and Kirk like beaming over and just like taking the device and just like about this, right?
Man, that was so long ago.
Yeah. Paul Lee said on that, he says, I like the banter, kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000-ish. He's got a new subscriber.
Nice.
So thanks for subscribing, Paul Lee.
Yeah. We grew up on Mystery Science, so
Yeah.
I'm sure in the back of our head somewhere that's what we're
Somewhere.
doing.
A frequent commenter on the channel, Jason Todman, he provided a lot of interesting information regarding Larry Nevin's IP in our comment section of Slaver Weapons. So if you want to know more about the Kzinti, the Slavers, the known verse, anything like that, go over to that video, go to the comment section, read it. He left a lot. So
I saw some of that. It seemed really interesting.
yeah. And then, of course, we got a comment from Captain Olimar. He said in our Slaver Weapon podcast, Mystery Box, says, didn't enjoy this one as much this week, so I guess I'll go with a compliment sandwich. I find it pretty funny, especially the Psychic Cat's lines. I personally don't really like the design of the Kzinti in Star Trek, but they didn't come from Trek, so it's not their fault.
Yep.
The mystery box was cool in concept, but looked very bland in execution. So that I find it was just like a yellow,
the yellow box.
Yeah.
Mystery box.
Though the device was interesting. So yeah, we agree. It was really cool to have a more limited cast, and I think it worked well even without Kirk. And
yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. And he says, thanks for the review as always. Well, you're welcome, Captain Olimar. And thanks for the comment.
Thanks, Captain.
And then lastly, there's a comment from Love by the Letters. And they said on the same video, Schrodinger's cat is 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other, some might say.
Oh, gross. It's just, I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. She really knows. She really knows how to irritate me. There's another saying, there's another 50-50 saying that I remembered the other day, like I heard, and it upset me just as much, but I don't remember what it was now. But the whole like 6 to half dozen, it just irritates. It just makes my blood boil.
Perfect. The thing like agitated before talking about.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's welcome our guest. He's our friend Mike. You know him as
Commander
in our hat. Let's welcome him to the show. Okay, here we are. We're here with Mike.
Hello.
Yeah.
Mike has joined us for the review of BEM. So, Mike, before we cover it little by little, what was your general thoughts of the episode?
Now, this is one of the episodes that never really stuck with me.
No. It's a weird one for sure.
Yeah.
After the intro, because every episode starts with the intro, there's a shot of them at the conference table, and on it is the multi-screen with like the triangular view screen, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah. Why is it red though?
Well, it's probably the same coloring issue that we've been having.
Right, that's right. You said he's colorblind, right?
Yeah, and he makes everything pink. So what I said before, also I noticed you were frozen, was that the BEM character has the voice that you really enjoy.
Oh, I just love it. Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I said it and then you were like gone.
Yeah.
Listening to the voice, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. It's a recurring voice. And it just keeps grating on me.
Do you know who does the voice?
Yeah. It's James Doohan who plays Scotty. So because there's like limited voice actors, anytime there's like a slightly weird alien thing, like this is the voice James Doohan decides is like to do this, like, oh, well, I'm not really sure, and blah blah. It's
I think that's what hurts me so much, is that it's Scotty.
So there's a really funny part where BEM is in the transporter room and he's waiting to go down, and Kirk and the gang are going into the transport room and they're going to go down. And they're like, "Oh, what are you doing in here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm going with you." And they're like, "Why are you going with us?" And he's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Because I'm going to observe." Kirk goes, he's like, "But you've been in your quarters for the last like 10 missions. Now you want to come?" And he's like, "No, you can't come."
Yeah.
And then Bem gets mad and he's like, "Of course I'm going to go." So I thought it was really funny that simply because Bem stayed in his quarters as a casual observer, which is what he calls him, Kirk is now upset that he wants to observe. He was just like, I don't know, it just made me laugh. He was like, "No, you can't come with me."
Well, it is funny because, like, like Kirk says, like, this is like the most like hostile planet we've been to, and now you want to like
Yeah,
leave
true.
the ship.
Yeah.
Basically, everything Bem does is like red flags, and everyone's like, well, I don't know. Seems fine to me. I don't know.
Commander Bem, what are you doing here?
This one has decided to accompany contact team for observation of same.
Commander Bem, you were assigned to the ship as an independent observer, yet you have spent the past 6 missions in your quarters. You haven't done any observing at all. Until now, when we're dealing with possibly a very dangerous planet.
Patience. Every planet is dangerous to the ignorant. This one has decided that the Nexus is now. Must observe workings of starship and crew.
This mission is not for casual observers. It could be hazardous.
Am prepared.
Commander Bem, this is not a joyride, a pleasure excursion. I cannot let you beam down to the planet without adequate protection. I'm sure you understand the diplomatic consequences if anything were to happen to you while you are under my protection.
Understanding it is, Captain, but this one remains adamant. Am prepared to accompany.
This is an odd time to remain adamant. All right, let's go. There's a planet waiting for us.
I do love when they get on the transporter pad. He basically is turned away from everybody, where the two of them are standing basically back to back, facing different directions.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got like his arms crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks so angry in that picture right there.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
His facial expressions are like more than anybody else in the show so far.
Oh, yeah. Smiling in the weird like parts. Yeah.
He's got those big chunky eyebrows. This one. This one.
This one. Yeah.
Oh. God.
We get a right before they go down though, we get a shot of Kyle, Lieutenant Kyle in the background.
Yeah.
He's at the council with the mustache.
Doing nothing.
Doing absolutely nothing.
And then they let Bem set the coordinates too.
Oh yeah. Totally fine.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's
It
really
doesn't have to make sense. We just have to go with it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really funny that his long game was pre-setting the coordinates so that they could fall into like the river or lake or whatever.
Yeah.
He could take their stuff, switch them out with phonies so that they can't contact the ship, and then watch them get into a terrible situation after he's been captured.
Yeah.
And that's how he observed them.
And then tell them that they're like awful people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love when they teleport in. 2 of them are not even on land and just fall into water.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that could happen. Like you teleport in and you're like in midair for a minute and then gravity sets in.
But notice that he put himself on land along with 2 others.
Yeah.
And just dunked 2 of them.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like you said, Will. He only takes the communicator and phaser from Spock and Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Did you really like when he split in 2? And then his hand came out to like get
No, I didn't. I didn't like that at all, actually.
The thing I like about the one thing I like about that is that part made sense where he split himself up walked over,
Oh.
did something, walked back. There's another scene where they're walking through a forest and his head is ahead of his
Yeah.
arm, which is ahead of his body. It's like, there's really no point to doing that besides showing off that he can move while being separated.
Yeah.
His whole body comes apart, and it's just like totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And then they like doubled down on it too, because then like Kirk and Spock are like, well, he couldn't have gone through here. There's bushes here. It's like,
There's no possible way.
You could probably fit through those bushes too, you know.
Too dense.
No. Same thing later when they're captured. They're like, well, can't get out of here. It's like, you could totally fit through that gap.
Yeah.
They're like these
if
big
he broke
giant,
himself up,
like,
he could go right through the gaps with no issue.
Right, if he can, right.
But they open the door for him so he can walk out, as opposed to showing off that he can break his body up and go through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's so many loopholes, but also you have to consider when it's made.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is the thing.
And then, of course, it's a good thing and a bad thing that we get Eric's speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, he finally says a line. This is like the first time, right?
Yeah, the first time I've heard the guy on the bridge talk.
Yeah.
He talks like just ever so slightly different than them.
Yeah.
Almost like a little more high pitch.
Yeah, his voice isn't as bad for whatever reason. For me, I don't know.
That's because you like it. That's because
it's more it's more subtle. It's not so over the top. I don't know. This is when the other two guys transport back to the ship, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because Kirk is like, hey, any sign of anything, just leave. So they're like, all right, well, let's leave.
Yeah, it comes down to just the three of them on the planet. That's when they're captured.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he breaks himself apart. His lower half walks over to them while they're all caged up. His upper half is still in the cage. And I'm going, what's the point of this? Why are you leaving yourself locked up?
Yeah.
As you're trying to help everybody get out.
He doesn't even know what the point of it is.
No.
Because we'll get to it, but like at the end of the episode, he's like, I did this thing, and they're like, no, that's not. No. And he's like, oh, well, I'm ready to be punished. Like, this guy's weird.
Very.
So this is the halfway point of the episode. So go down to the comment section and write
torso hands. I hate those things. They like come out of his little like, ugh.
It's his belt.
Yeah. Oh.
It's kind of like the Thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's walking around with like tentacles and things coming out. He's trying to be
made a whole lot more sense than this one did.
That's true. So we come back from the commercial, and Caleb doesn't know this character because she hasn't been in other episodes that we watched.
Oh, I know this character.
Oh, but in the background, there is a
cat lady.
A cat lady.
Yeah. I've seen her.
Yeah.
I've seen her.
Her name is like Maress or something like that.
I'm pretty sure it's Mittens, and she's the first officer. So.
Okay, yeah. So the thing that made me laugh was we come back from that commercial break, and it's like they kind of explain it as the time goes on with the sparkling, twinkling, like alien intelligence thing. But I thought it was really funny that the reptile like natives are just so very sensible, and they don't just kill them. They're like, no, sir, we don't know what you are. We've never seen your kind before. You'll come with us and you'll be put in this cage.
Even though they're standing there with a giant battle axe, they can easily kill them right then and there.
Yes. And it was like, why did these things just be like, no, sir, you deserve a stand at trial. We're going to imprison you. Most primitive things would just be like, what is this thing? Kill it and eat it.
They are so advanced that they have the wooden, sticks tied together, but they have complete knowledge of civilization.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Because then they meet Kirk and Spock too, and they're like, more of these weird things? Like, whatever, just put them in a cage.
Yeah. No, let's build them their own cage.
Yeah, they're living in straw huts.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But they are so advanced.
Yeah.
You can actually see in the hut in the background the same lashing that they made the cages out of.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They did the same thing inside the buildings to hold the roof up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There? Wow, yeah. That's cool. That's really funny.
Yeah, they used the same kind of framework that they lashed the cages together with to build the huts.
Yeah, that's funny. Do you think they had those cages already?
That's a good question.
Maybe one or two of them. Like, maybe.
Overall, I can tell you they wouldn't be hard to build.
No.
They're just a bunch of sticks and string.
Yeah, true. There's a really funny part where Kirk and Spock are in the cage, imprisoned as well. And Kirk is like, hey, so Spock, do you think you can get us out of this by like nerve pinching? And Spock's like, no.
Yeah.
Can't do that. He's
like what? Like nerve pinch the crate? Like
right.
What was he?
Oh, it made me laugh so hard.
But Vulcans do have like more strength. You would think he could just break the
right. But why call it
nerve?
Why? It's like, can you Vulcan nerve or neck pinch, whatever he calls it? I forget what he says, but yeah.
Why don't you try your Vulcan nerve pinch?
Captain, I am only a Vulcan. There are limits.
Like, I don't think that's how that works, Kirk.
Is this after they learn that their phasers are replicas?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was funny too. Where they're like, these aren't click, 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 click.
And he just keeps doing it.
These are just cheap Mattel reproduction.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
It's like, they're amazing, but they're not real. The thing I thought was also kind of interesting was the fact that like they're having like diplomatic relations with the Pandronians or whatever.
Yeah.
With Bem's people, but they like clearly Starfleet knows like nothing about them.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, he's a colony creature. I'm like, how do you not know that all of his people are colony people? And then it's like, oh, he's doing this really like kind of obnoxious. He's kind of a lone guy doing his own thing. It's like, how do you not know that this is how his people are? Like, this is the whole point of First Contact. Is
they almost make it sound like they went to the planet and just kidnapped him. Is kind of how they make it sound.
It literally was like they beamed down and they were like, hey, do you guys have warp travel? They're like, yes, we do. And they're like, great, get on the ship. And it's just like, we're not going to ask any questions.
It's probably one of those things where like they went down there and they're like, hey, so we're here just to learn about, different species and stuff. And they're like, oh, this one will go with you. And he just got on the ship and that was the end of it,
And then stayed in his room for.
Yeah. God.
One thing I found very funny. The cages that they were all locked up in.
Yeah.
Once everybody beams down, they take out a phaser, shoot one little bunch of rope, and also the whole cage door falls open.
Yes.
And I'm going, if one little thing of rope is holding the entire door, couldn't it have easily been opened?
Oh, impossible.
Well, they do that a few because Kirk shoots it the first time they get out, and then
Yeah. And then we get Nichelle Nichols voicing the angry twinkling lights in the sky.
yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty good.
There is one other thing I was laughing at. The lizards in the when they first come in to do the fight,
Okay.
they throw a spear at
Mhm.
one guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then they're just holding on. Two of them are holding on to another guy, and I'm going, that is a very wide gap of reaction here. You're
Yeah.
trying to physically impale a person with a spear, and you have two people just holding a guy's arms who can separate his body out and the parts can go wherever he wants.
It's because the two lizards were holding him while the other ones built the cage.
They're like, there's a whole bunch more here now. Great.
Oh,
great.
we need 6 more cages.
And of course, the spear was thrown at a red shirt.
Of course.
Yep.
Naturally. Okay. Now it's time for trivia.
Oh, not again. All right, now you're overacting.
The title of this episode, BEM, is an old science fiction term meaning bug-eyed monster. The episode's author, David Gerrold, selected the acronym during the production of the original series for use as both the title of this episode and an alien featured herein, simply because he believed it would be fun to have an actual bug-eyed monster in Star Trek, though that wish was not fulfilled for the original series, and the character Bem was never intended to be true to his namesake. It says the Star Trek offices received an updated story outline on March 14th, 1968 for Bem from David Gerrold for Star Trek's 3rd season. The treatment begins with a 4-page premise pitching the story as how the Enterprise crew deals with a truly alien non-humanoid crew member, concluding, on Earth today, prejudice is an emotional reaction, and we try to defeat it by showing that it is illogical as well as immoral. But what if Spock were able to show a logical reason for being prejudiced? What then would be the answer? Emotion? The next 16 pages sketch out a thin story concerning how specialists in subspace mechanics and astrotechnology, BEM, comes around the Enterprise to assist on a mission to observe the star Zeta Omicron, which is about to go nova. Bem himself is described as being of the race of Schlossers, creatures who have developed symbiotic relationships with other creatures, so much so that their graspers or hands and walkers or their feet can detach for periods of time and act independently. The teaser ends with Bem shaking hands with Kirk and playing a joke by detaching the grasper so that Kirk is left holding the hand, establishing the alien is a practical joker. The rest of the story concerns itself with Bem impeding the mission through his practical jokes, particularly targeted at Spock, only to save the Vulcan at the climax. In the end, it is revealed that Spock and Bem have come to an understanding, Spock revealing on the planet Schloss, the only way to stop a practical joker is to out-joke him. Whereupon Bem cries, "He gave me a hot foot!" To which Spock replies, "It seemed the logical thing to do." So it's very silly, but
I feel like I hate that even more.
so that's like the original idea of what David Gerrold had. But here's the funny thing that ends up happening. Gene Roddenberry made several additions to this episode, as on each of many occasions when he had a meeting with David Gerrold, he made numerous suggestions about the story, to the point where the episode's writer kept wondering how to make the ideas work. Gerrold explained, Gene kept saying, change this, change this, change this. The narrative's writer also recalled of Gene Roddenberry, his notes on Bem were very confusing, and he added elements that I felt pulled the story way off its original premise. One of these elements was the godlike entity that features in this version of the episode. After Gene suggested the finding of God on the episode's planet, David Gerrold inwardly groaned, having a gut level reaction that the same plot element had been used by Gene countless times before. Recalled Gerrold, my gut level was, haven't we done that one enough? But Gene liked it, and I said, well, let me see what I can do with it. Essentially stuck with the character concept of a godlike entity, David Gerrold tried to make it fit naturally into the plot. Once I decided I was going to do it, once I took it on, I chose to make it a logical part of the story, he reflected. The addition of the deity meant that the main characters had to solve their predicament with their wits rather than violence, a theme that Gerrold had already been wanting to use.
That's a theme that does get reused like a ton.
Yeah.
It's a thing basically where it's I don't know, it's a hard mix because like it's the same. I guess it's like really the same problem with like George Lucas. It's like you really appreciate Gene Roddenberry for like opening the world, the door to this world and like these ideas and how this thing runs. But then he's like, but I want all of this to happen. And you're like, but this is terrible. Nobody wants this. Like that doesn't make any sense. And he's like,
Gene,
more.
you've done this 8 times. He's like, yeah, but I love the concept. He's like, yeah, we know you love the concept. It's you've done it 8 times, you know.
It's that saying, it looks good on paper.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Very true. And then lastly, since Nichelle Nichols had always been eager to perform more than her usual actions as Uhura, and because she was very popular with Star Trek fans, David Gerrold, who also had a long-held fondness for her, felt that she should play the character of the deity in this episode. David related, after all these years of doing these Star Trek conventions, we'd done 2 or 3 separate conventions, and seeing her in front of the audience and seeing how much the audience loved her and knowing that the audience just wanted to see more of her, I said, look, let's have Nichelle do the voice of the god creature here. I was very excited to see her do the voice of the alien intelligence. Ultimately, David Gerrold was very pleased with Nichelle Nichols' performances in this outing, feeling that she was the episode's saving grace. She was perfect because if you listen to her, what she brings is such a marvelous quality. Where she's doing Uhura, she has this strength that we hardly ever got to see in the live action show. And then as this god character, she has this command over everything, Gerrold raved. And I think this script demonstrates Nichelle's range, that she can do a lot of different things that she never got to do on the live action show. The writer additionally observed she gets to show Uhura being a very strong voice on the bridge, and then she does the voice of the alien intelligence, and there she's a whole different character, and the ranges there is spectacular. Like in our day and age, it's like you're like, oh cool, she's voicing this thing, but like back then it was a pretty sizable reality that she was doing all of, being able to yet again be in command of the Enterprise, and then also voicing 2 different characters.
Yeah, that is cool.
Okay, so back from trivia, and to go along with what Mike was saying, the thing that made me laugh was Kirk's like, he talks to this this god thing, whatever, alien, and he's like, yes, we'll leave, but first we're going to bring down 4 more people with weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. And immediately like, hey, so don't shoot anything unless you really, really have to. And then like the first lizard guy that shows up is like, oh my God, shoot it. Like,
and then the only other thing I had was so basically Bem is broken down. He's like, let's see how dumb the Federation is, and then fails at that and realizes that he's dumb or it's dumb, whatever.
Yeah.
This one is dumb.
It's such a stupid plan.
I'm sending you a comparison.
That's really funny. Bug-eyed monster.
Yep. I think the lizard men actually came from Bug-Eyed Monster, because that is a very eerie similarity.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. The episode kind of goes off. Well, it's already kind of off the rails, but like this whole ending thing
Yeah.
is like he like tells her that they're gonna leave, and then they cause more problems on the planet, and he's like, "Well, we gotta take this idiot off the planet so he doesn't do anything bad to your planet." And she's like, "Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense."
And then they put more people on the planet. And he's
Yep.
like, we're just trying to get him off the planet. She's like, well, I don't know.
If you look at this situation from a completely neutral stand,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. It's
No.
like, people, come on. You shouldn't be here. We'll bring more people. Wait, no. You're trying to leave. Don't bring more people. We're going to start a fight now. No.
She was like,
Yeah.
please don't interfere with my children. They're like, immediately interfere. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, and the whole thing anyway, from like their perspective, is like these weird aliens land on this planet and they just break out of cages and they start hurting and destroying stuff.
Yeah.
The lizard men also, they're carrying around spears and axes. So obviously they're fighters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you never really see them do anything beside the one scene where one of them throws a spear.
Right.
There's another scene where the guy throws his axe on the ground and runs off. You really don't see the lizard men do anything besides, grab people,
Right,
and run away.
Yeah, it's really funny. It just was really funny because they build them as these like they design them as these like scary primitive like lizard people who are very like you get the impression that they're probably violent with all the weapons that they have and torches and all this stuff, and then they're just like, no, we're very civil. We're very civil.
The other thing too is like, how many times can you show Spock and Kirk getting out of the cages?
and
then every time they get out, they're like, all right, we got to be really, really stealthy. And then like immediately, like 8 lizard guys are like, they're out of the cages.
And they're always in a spot where they can easily be grabbed again.
Oh yeah,
and put into another situation.
I forgot about that in the beginning too. Remember when they first get put in the cage? Kirk's like, Spock, how do we always end up in this situation? I was like, yeah,
Spock's
exactly.
Like, no, we don't always do this.
No,
it's like, yes, we do.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Then he says fate, right? Doesn't Spock say, well, it's because it's fate? And then he's like, fate, Spock. Like, what?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I think that's one of your stupid human things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that was a little on the creepy side.
Okay.
When Kirk and Spock are captured, he has this creepy grin.
He does have a creepy grin. He does.
Because he smiled in this scene when they were captured. I'm like, you're enjoying the fact that things are going on. You are really enjoying this.
He really takes great pleasure in how dumb they are, and then it turns on him that like all of this happened because you were stupid. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have done any of this. You're like, right?
Yeah. Even for the minimal movement that they have in these shows, because it's face, mouth moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then when there's movement, it's look at this.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the planet that when they cut to the Enterprise like going by in one shot, it's the same like orange planet that's always there, but then in this episode it's green. So it's just like it's the exact same animation, it's just a different color.
They just color corrected it, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
They probably just put a different filter on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exact same thing, just filter.
Yep.
Because I know years ago they used to reuse the exact same
Yes.
stuff over and over and over again to save on the animation.
Anything really, right? Yeah. And I get it.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of it too was like they probably didn't have a ton of time to work on it because they would probably still writing the scripts and then putting it out. Like you're seeing, like we talked about in trivia, like Roddenberry's like changing stuff constantly. So it's like, how do you keep drawing? Like you can't constantly draw everything that he's like doing. So yeah.
No.
And the problem is you have to draw each frame.
Yes.
And I don't want to know how many frames they had to say, we're scrapping this for this episode because you completely changed everything. We might be able to use some of it later, but for this episode, we're starting all over from scratch.
More than you want to know, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, I assume that's why there's many shots of them. Just like, isn't that shot in like 6 other episodes? It's like, yes, because we didn't want to redraw that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's also why in all the cartoons they had that one transformation scene, like Voltron, all the lights come together.
Yeah.
Thundercats, the sword gets bigger. Literally the exact same thing.
Just cut to this.
Yeah, I would.
I'm going, I don't blame them. It worked. Years later, I came across clips making fun of it, but I'm like, for the time,
it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we accepted it.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, nothing. Please. Please, God, no.
I think we sufficiently picked apart this episode and picked out everything wrong with it.
Good.
Hey. Except, we didn't say my favorite quote from Scotty, and he says, You couldn't even see the Loch Ness Monster in that fog.
Alex, have you found them yet? No, sir. It is a big planet.
Mr. Scott, that sensory anomaly. It's expanded to cover the whole northern continent.
What's that?
We can't get any readings at all now.
Aye, that tears it. The Loch Ness Monster couldn't get through that.
Because he's Scottish.
If you didn't know, by the way.
Yeah.
A Scottish man named Scott, if you only knew.
Where's this alien guy from?
Okay, yeah, so that was the review. So, before we conclude the episode, let's do the thing that everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb.
Okay, Caleb. Who gets the Erica Ortega Award for being the most unlikable?
Ben.
Easy.
Yeah.
What's his full name? What's his full government name?
It's like Ari Bin Bam.
Ari Bin Bam. Oh boy. Bem her.
Yeah. Bin. Who gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable?
Let's go Scotty this week.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He beams down, immediately beams back, and then he doesn't really do much.
No, not too much.
He commands the ship.
I would have gone with the guy who got the spear thrown at him.
Yeah. Well, it's usually Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, the mustache guy is usually the. Yeah.
Wasn't he on the planet? He was on the planet too.
Was he? Man,
there was a mustache guy on the planet. Yeah.
Well,
it could be anybody.
I read in trivia that they were speculating that they thought a lot of the red shirt guys were just animators, like people that like they just drew themselves like into the episode.
Oh boy.
What gets the Mugatu Award for being the best alien of the episode?
The Cathian arms officer, yeah.
Wow, nice.
It's cool.
I thought for a brief second he was going to be like the sparkling, like twinkles on the
Bem's left arm.
Yeah.
I was thinking the sparkly lights where you never saw an actual person.
Right.
Yeah.
A classic
love
Star Trek alien.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. Yeah. It's too bad there's no episodes where we watch where she like talks in them because I just didn't feel like watching those episodes. So I think this is like the only time you see her in the background. Who gets the Trip Tucker Award for being the MVP?
I always give that to Spock.
Yeah, Spock's cool.
He's always the MVP, unless Scotty fixes the ship, you know.
Yeah.
Spock built the two hand phasers together so he can communicate with a god. I mean, that's pretty that's pretty good.
Put these two things together.
Yeah. Kirk's like, well, I can't communicate with a god with this one communicator. And Spock's like, what if we put two communicators together?
That immediately reaches. What gets the Shran Award for being the best action sequence?
Probably when they all beam down.
Oh.
And just start blowing up the village.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That's probably it. I mean, that's the only real.
Well, like Mike said, like getting the spear thrown at
thrown, yeah.
But yeah, them coming down and like shooting the lizard people was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty action.
It's sad that like them disrupting their society worse was like the yay, we like it. What gets the NX award for some sweet ship stuff?
Gosh, I don't know.
The dual communicator.
Probably. I mean, it looked like Kirk was just holding them next to each other too. It didn't look like they were like wired or anything.
Just holding it, yeah.
And he's like, and these will break, but they'll work again after a while.
He was like, I can't get anybody on the line. He's like, well, I got the fix. Hello.
Yeah, let's go with the two communicators smushed together. That's fine.
There's literally no other technology in the entire episode.
No, and I've already done the transporter and I've already done the ship. It's like every week there's just less and less.
Less and less. Yes. Okay, so what gets the Porthos Award for being the cheesiest thing of the episode?
I think them getting captured and put back in cages like 12 times is just
bad.
Over the top, yeah.
Like, no, sir, back in the cage. No, sir, back in the cage.
Well, the concept that the lizard men that are very primitive are putting these people in cages and not doing anything else, even though they keep escaping the cages.
I like how apparently these lizard men are vegetarians.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They would have tried to eat them, right, if they weren't.
Oh, tremendously. Yeah. I almost wonder what David Geralt's episode would have been if Gene Roddenberry wasn't like, have there be a sparkling alien who watches over them, and like what if we don't, Gene? He's like, no,
there has to be a higher power.
All right, now we release Caleb from his misery by asking him the last thing. What gets the Enterprise Award for being the best scene of the episode?
It's Scotty's Loch Ness Monster quote. I mean, that's the best scene in the episode.
Right, yeah, I'll take it.
I would have gone with the overview looking down on the village because you saw like 4 or 5 little huts.
That is cool.
That was a nice one. And it has no people screwing up the shop.
Just look at this nice little village. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You get to see that top-down view of the bridge again, too, Will. Did you notice that?
Oh, yes.
Every time, like we were talking about with animation, like every time they show like the bridge, it's this top-down view of like the whole cast on the bridge, and it's just like voiced over, like raise the deflector shields. Like that shot always is the same shot.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was what Caleb thought. So now you guys can go down to the comment section and write what you thought of the episode. Did you just love it like we did?
Love it.
Like, wow. More Bem, please. Or
I would like an episode where Bem and Mud get together.
That's what
and
you
they
would
go
like.
on their own adventures.
Are you sure you don't mean Cyrano Jones?
All three of them together on an adventure would be my. I mean, it could be its own show.
Yeah.
They like
Called
Ben. Ben has like a sonic screwdriver, and
Oh.
Cyrano Jones has companions and tribbles.
Assignment Bem.
Bem actually would have been very interesting if they had utilized his abilities in a way that made sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Bem is just an amalgamation of Roddenberry being like, oh, I never could have done this live action, so let's make this guy split in 4 parts. And it was like, but what does that do for the episode? Well, nothing, but we can draw it now.
We can do that.
Yeah.
It actually would have been cool if they had like a scene. We have this really small Jeffries tube.
Oh, yeah.
Where something needs to be fixed, and he just
Yeah.
takes off his arm with a screwdriver on it, and the screwdriver flies through the Jeffries tube. It's fixed. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost literally feel like David Gerrold wanted that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just his head. His head flies through the tube and uses like his tongue to like turn the knob.
No, just the mouth, where the screwdriver in the mouth, clunk, and then the whole head rotates.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's great.
This one has fixed phases.
That's already a better episode.
It already is. Perfect. Well, next week's episode, we are going to end the animated series.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's the season 2 finale, but it's also going to be the series finale. So next week's episode is called The Counter Clock Incident.
Oh, no.
Watch that. So for everybody who is a Via Non Capta fan, this week we had the first officer. Next week we'll have the captain.
Oh, boy.
We look forward to that. As always, you can like the video if you liked it. You can dislike it if you disliked it. You can share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode and ring that bell for notifications. You can always go over to Caleb's channel. He has his own channel. So, Caleb, you can just...
Yeah. I took part in a Fallout build challenge. That was fun. So I made something cool from the world of Fallout, so you can check that out. That's already up. So.
Well, check it out. So go over to Caleb's channel, give him a like, give him a subscribe, give him a comment, give him a suggestion. You decide. Thanks for joining, Mike. Thanks for joining the program. And since you're still here as our guest, we'll have you close it out.
Computer end program.
See you guys.
This one has to go to work.